Lamborghini.
Ferruccio was born on April 28, 1916 in Italy. He grew up in a humble but hardworking family. His parents and siblings worked their land tirelessly, year after year, doing everything they could to secure a good harvest. From a very young age, Ferruccio worked in the fields. He helped repair the tractors his father relied on every day. Over time, this sparked a deep passion for machinery, especially tractors. That passion only grew stronger. He even dreamed of attending university to study something related to mechanics. But then, a global event changed the course of his life and the lives of millions of others. That event was World War II, as many already know. The war divided the world's great powers into two opposing military alliances: the Allies, led by Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, against the Axis powers of Germany, Italy, and Japan. Entire nations redirected their economic, military, and scientific resources into the conflict. During this time, countless families were torn apart. Young men enlisted to serve their countries. Ferruccio Lamborghini was one of them. At the age of 23, Ferruccio was drafted into the Royal Italian Air Force. He was assigned to a mixed operations unit responsible for repairing military vehicles on the island of Rhodes. A few years later, Italy surrendered. Allied forces captured Italian troops as prisoners of war, including Ferruccio and his companions. But in an unexpected turn, the army recognized Ferruccio's exceptional mechanical skills. Instead of remaining a prisoner, he was put to work repairing machines for the Allies. When the war finally ended, he was released, full of hope. Ferruccio returned home alongside his best friend, Matteo. They were excited to resume their lives right where they had left off. Although Ferruccio was eager to see his family again, he made one important stop first, to visit Clelia, the love of his life. There, he confessed what his heart had been carrying all along. After a long journey, Ferruccio finally arrived home, welcomed with tears and joy by his family, grateful that he had returned safe and alive. Later that afternoon, Ferruccio asked for a moment alone with his father. He was about to propose something that would change their lives forever. He told him he had decided to move to the city with Clelia, to build his own family. Seeing the disappointment on his father's face, Ferruccio continued. He explained the rest of his plan. He wanted to open a workshop to build tractors that were more powerful, more practical, and cheaper than anything else on the market. His father rejected the idea immediately, trying to reassure him. Ferruccio explained that, with Matteo's help, he would modify an old car and enter a race. Winning would bring prestige and investors. That would be the foundation for producing his tractors. But his father remained unconvinced. Italy's economy was fragile, barely recovering from the war. He feared his son would fail. Calmly, Ferruccio replied with a simple phrase, "I'll make it work." Even at this early stage, Ferruccio showed that he was a visionary. He understood that after the war, demand for tractors in Italy would skyrocket. Trusting his instincts, he decided to go all in. Ferruccio was young, bold, and full of revolutionary ideas. He believed completely in himself and his knowledge. He even claimed that failure wouldn't matter because, in his words, the best way to fail is by aiming for greatness. Finally, the big day arrived. Ferruccio and Matteo competed in a race held in the region known as Terra dei Motori, literally the land of motors. This area was famous for producing prestigious automobile brands and hosting major automotive events. Even Enzo Ferrari himself was present, and he would personally award the prize. Remember that name. It will matter later. The cars lined up. Ferrari raised the flag. The race began. At first, Matteo was driving, but when Ferruccio took the wheel, his obsession with winning pushed them too far. A small accident followed, and they were immediately disqualified. The failure hit them hard. They had poured everything into this project. But that same night, something happened that changed everything. Matteo confided in Clelia about the race. She had always stood by Ferruccio's side, and now she encouraged him to keep going. Then she revealed the surprise. She was pregnant. That moment changed the game completely. The baby became the driving force in Ferruccio's life. Inspired, he went straight to his father's house to share the news and to ask for a loan. His father gave him the little money he had in his wallet, but Ferruccio, embarrassed, insisted he needed much more. He promised to repay everything with interest. Later, his father returned holding a document, the mortgage to the family farm. He handed it to Ferruccio with a level of trust he had never shown before. Clelia, however, reacted differently. Instead of joy, she felt fear. She couldn't accept risking everything for a dream. But Ferruccio saw no obstacles, only the vision of his dream becoming reality. Clelia asked him to stop dreaming and deposit the money into his father's bank account. He agreed, but the next morning, he did the opposite. He deposited the money into his own account and began the project in a small, dark workshop. Ferruccio and Matteo started building one of the very first tractors. They shared bold ideas and ambitious goals. When Matteo asked if it would really work, Ferruccio answered, "We'll make it work." One day, while working in the shop, Matteo noticed a beautiful woman stepping off a bus. He instantly fell for her. Ferruccio encouraged him to talk to her, but Matteo was too shy. Later, at lunch, they saw her again at a cafe point. Matteo stared. Ferruccio insisted once more. Still, Matteo couldn't speak. So Ferruccio stood up, approached her, smiled warmly, and introduced himself. She did the same. He then introduced her to Matteo. Her name was Anita. Matteo could barely manage a quiet hello, si. Back at the workshop, progress continued. The tractor was nearly finished. At the same time, Clelia's pregnancy was nearing its end. She asked Ferruccio not to come home late because the baby could arrive at any moment. This is where the story takes a tragic turn. That night, Ferruccio ignored her request. Instead, he stayed late painting the tractor in its iconic bright orange color. Meanwhile, Clelia waited anxiously at home, knowing the moment had come. When the Lamborghini logo plate was finally ready, Ferruccio headed home to show her his creation. But when he walked inside, he saw blood on the floor, terrified. He ran to the hospital. Clelia was in labor, alone. The delivery became complicated. She lost too much blood. After long minutes, the baby was born, but at the cost of Clelia's life. Ferruccio arrived too late, devastated and broken. He collapsed over her body later. He returned to the workshop, the place that had stolen time from the woman he loved. In a fit of rage and grief, he grabbed a hammer and nearly destroyed the tractor. But he stopped. That orange tractor was his dream, and now it was also the future of the child he had to raise. With help from his family, especially his mother, Ferruccio moved forward. When the tractor was finished, he went to the bank seeking investors. He named the model Carioca. It included innovations that made it radically different from other tractors of the era, most notably a fuel vaporizer invented by Ferruccio himself. The system allowed the tractor to start on gasoline and then switch to diesel, reducing costs and improving efficiency. In simple terms, it was stronger, cheaper to operate, and less expensive to build than anything else on the market. He secured investors to manufacture 100 units. When he told Matteo, they celebrated, they had made it work. But the story doesn't end there. The company began by producing just one tractor per week. But thanks to the exceptional quality of the product, production quickly scaled to nearly 200 units per month. Soon, there was no longer just a single model. Ferruccio began creating new tractors designed to meet different needs. First came the L33, the first model produced on a larger scale. Then followed the DL30 and DL40. As technology advanced, so did Ferruccio's ambition. His company went on to design its first track tractor, the DL25C. By the early 1960s, nearly 400 people were working at the company, assembling between 25 and 30 tractors every single day. All of this growth happened because Ferruccio knew how to be in the right place at the right time. He read the landscape correctly and worked relentlessly. In a relatively short period, he became a multi-millionaire. He also invested in other industries, designing high-quality heating systems and air conditioners. As his fortune grew, Ferruccio developed a powerful fascination with racing and sports cars. By the 1950s, he owned a collection of 7 high-performance vehicles. Among his favorites were Jaguars, Mercedes, Maseratis, and Ferraris. But there was one Ferrari with which he had a love-hate relationship, the Ferrari 250 GT on one hand. Its design was breathtaking. It drew every eye and delivered an incredible driving experience. On the other hand, it suffered from recurring mechanical issues. When Ferruccio inspected the engine alongside his mechanics, he discovered the problem was in the clutch, nearly identical to the one used in his tractors. That realization angered him. It made no sense that two products with such vastly different prices shared the same components. Confident he knew how to fix it, Ferruccio came up with an idea: propose a partnership with Ferrari. One afternoon, he approached Enzo Ferrari outside his office. He told him he was a great admirer of his work and that he owned several Ferraris. He explained that many of them shared the same clutch problems. Then he proposed a partnership between Ferrari and Lamborghini to build the greatest luxury sports cars in the world. Enzo Ferrari did not take it well. He dismissed Ferruccio outright, insisting the problem wasn't the car, it was the driver. Then came the remark that would change everything: "A tractor manufacturer is not going to teach me how to build sports cars." And with that, Enzo walked away without even looking back. That moment ignited something inside Ferruccio. After the disrespect and the repeated issues with his Ferraris, he made a decision. He would build the greatest grand touring sports car the world had ever seen, and he would make it happen. During a visit to a bullfighting exhibition, Ferruccio was struck by the raw power of the bulls. He immediately connected their strength to his engines and to his own life. The courage and force symbolized by the bull inspired him to choose it as the emblem of his brand. The Miura bull, firm in his vision. That same year, he consulted his engineers about presenting the car at the Geneva Motor Show. He insisted it be ready in just 6 months, despite strong resistance from his team. To make it possible, he pushed for aluminum components to reduce weight and increase power. After long debates, he finally convinced them, reminding them that even failure would be worthwhile if they were aiming for greatness, just as he once told his father. To achieve this, he founded his first automobile factory, Automobili Lamborghini, in Sant'Agata Bolognese, a small town in the province of Bologna known as the Land of Motors. Ironically, the region that witnessed his first failure would now become the birthplace of his first luxury car. At the same time, Ferruccio began showing interest in other young women, particularly his secretary, Anita, with whom he had been involved for several years. Sensing his intentions, she chose to confront him. During a dinner, she warned him that investing all the tractor profits into building a car was reckless. If it failed, everything would be lost. From her perspective, the market was already full of sports cars, and unlike tractors, the competition already dominated that space. Ferruccio interrupted her. He insisted it would succeed. He pointed out that many companies were shutting down due to fuel shortages and rising prices. People were buying fewer cars. Workers were striking over low wages. But Ferruccio argued that he paid his employees well and took care of them, with only 3 months left before the unveiling. The design engineer presented a sketch. It was creative and innovative, but Ferruccio rejected it and asked him to start over. The engine engineer also presented a prototype that didn't convince Ferruccio. He demanded the carburetors be placed horizontally so the engine could fit into the limited space. One night, while drinking coffee, Ferruccio sketched the bull logo on a napkin. Later, he took it to a branding expert to refine it. That is how the official Lamborghini logo, the Miura bull, was born. The next day, Ferruccio gave an interview announcing that at the next Geneva Motor Show, he would unveil the finest car ever made, the Lamborghini 350 GT. When asked why he was entering the luxury car market, he answered simply, "I'm searching for perfection." Finally, the design engineer presented a new sketch. This time, it was perfect. Everyone agreed it would be a success. The result was the iconic Lamborghini 350 GT, an elegant car with a curved front, sleek headlights, a sharply sloped windshield, a wraparound profile, and a flat rear window flowing into a clean, straight tail. Production began. Every part was crafted with obsessive attention to detail. Later, Ferruccio attended a party with Anita and his son Tonino. While sketching his next car at the table, a beautiful young woman approached him. They grew closer and Ferruccio crossed a line. Anita saw everything. Heartbroken, she asked for a divorce and took Tonino with her. Once again, Lamborghini lost two of the most important people in his life. Despite this, The 350 GT passed all tests flawlessly. The next step was Geneva, 1964. The Geneva Motor Show, held every March at the Palexpo Convention Center, showcased hundreds of cutting-edge vehicles across more than 120,000 square meters. When Ferruccio's car was unveiled, it stole the spotlight, overshadowing even Ferrari. When asked about the price, Ferruccio gave a speech that ended with a legendary line: "You buy a Ferrari when you want to be someone. You buy a Lamborghini when you already are someone." The crowd erupted in applause. Between 1965 and 1970, Ferruccio released multiple models, most notably the Lamborghini Miura. With its rear-mounted engine, it revolutionized the supercar world. When the Museum of Modern Art in New York exhibited the Miura, it was declared the most beautiful car ever made. By the early 1970s, Lamborghini had become the ultimate symbol of elegance and luxury. But then came the collapse. Strikes, combined with a 300% increase in oil prices, devastated Italy's automotive industry. The 1973 oil crisis triggered massive unemployment, global recession, and runaway inflation. Even Ferruccio Lamborghini, known for personally negotiating wages, could not escape the crisis. Slowly, he began selling the empire he had built. 1 year later, he invited his son Tonino to dinner. Tonino now had a family of his own, 3 children, a home, a life. Ferruccio told him he was selling the company. Half the money would go to Tonino, the rest to his siblings. Then Ferruccio shared that he had been named Knight of Labor, an Italian honor awarded to entrepreneurs whose work benefited society. Tonino congratulated him, then asked a simple question: "Was it worth it, Dad?" Ferruccio tried to answer, but it was already too late. In the final chapter of his life, Ferruccio returned to agriculture, purchasing vineyards, perhaps searching for belonging, or peace, or home. Ferruccio Lamborghini passed away in February 1993 at the age of 77. He left behind a legacy that still shapes the automotive world today. Lamborghini is now valued at over $11 billion, owned by Audi and Volkswagen. But Tonino's question still echoes. Was it worth it? How much should one sacrifice for ambition? Where is the limit?